It's a vicious cycle that claims the lives of millions of children worldwide, and Bangkok, Southeast Asia's prime cosmopolitan hub, is a destination for thousands of such minors. In recent years, a large number of underage persons from surrounding countries have been trafficked into the Thai capital from border towns that have been penetrated by trafficking rings. Myanmar and Cambodia are the leading source countries, both of which are poverty-stricken and where rule of law and government accountability are loose terms. At least 20,000 street children are estimated to roam the streets of major urban centres in Thailand. Mae Sot bordering Myanmar and Arunyapratat bordering Cambodia have been hotspots for trafficked children. Living on the streets, fending not just for themselves but also their families, street children in Bangkok work in different variations of organised begging and exploitative labour. A common sight at metro stations are young women with infants who easily draw sympathy from commuters due to the vulnerable image that they portray. It is indeed a cutthroat world where infants as young as 1 are paired up with women who are unable to breastfeed them, and children as young as 6 years sit alone in public spaces, vulnerable to sexual predators. Cambodian children presently constitute a majority of the non-Thai child beggars in Bangkok. Despite crackdowns, Cambodia is a prime source country for trafficked minors.
Every year, a growing number of Cambodian children are sold to traffickers in Thailand as prostitutes, cheap labour and beggars. Upon reaching cities such as Bangkok, they're subjected to slave-like conditions, living in constant fear of being caught by Thai authorities, because this often results in brutal arrests and being sent to juvenile detention centres.
Once back in their home country, many of them are immediately reinserted into the web of human trafficking. This anti-human trafficking organisation held in Bangkok by the Mirror Foundation examines the perpetuating cycle.
What is the process that takes place where they arrive in the destination cities like Bangkok?
เด็กขอทานเนี่ยของมูลที่กระจกเงาเราเองเนี่ยเราเน้นเรื่องการทำการรณรงค์นะครับเป็นหลักนะครับคือการรณรงค์ให้คนในสังคมเนี่ยหยุดให้เงินเด็กขอทานนะครับแล้วเปลี่ยนจากการให้เงินเนี่ยมาเป็นการโทรแจ้งไปยังหน่วยงานที่เกี่ยวข้องแทน
Due to a demographic imbalance where minors make up half the population and hence form the economic backbone of the country, Cambodian children often feel obligated to earn money that they remit to their families.
Although children from Myanmar share the same economic hardships as those coming from Cambodia, due to continuing instability in ethnic minority states, especially those bordering Thailand, an increasing number of minors continue to flee conflict, displacement, human rights abuses, and gross economic mismanagement by the government. Due to a combination of these factors, returning home is not a pragmatic solution for these children, and hence they're easily lured by traffickers once they enter Thai border towns such as Mae Sot.
Families from Myanmar who manage to cross over to Thailand are faced with a grim economic situation in border towns such as Mae Sot, where they have to pay off local Thai officials on a monthly basis to prevent being deported, and where illegal migrants have already saturated the labour market.
So they took the children as like a small group, like 5 people, 10 people together in different ways. Sometimes they put under the truck and make put a human being underneath of the van, or sometimes they use the jungle way to avoid the Thai checkpoint on the way. Sometimes it's two weeks walking through the jungle without knowing where you are and where you're going. They are totally under the control of the smugglers.
These young ones struggle to fill their quotas during 12-hour work shifts before they're picked up by their ringleaders and shuttled away to their cramped quarters. And the cycle starts all over again every day of the week, well past dusk, when they should be in bed in the safe confines of their homes. About 20% of street children interviewed by Friends International reported sexual abuse, and a majority of them reported receiving regular beatings from their ringleaders.
What is being done? What is the responsibility of the Thai side in terms of regulating this type of trade?
The anti-child trafficking law clearly said that the victims should not be treated as a criminal, even he or she does not have any legal document. But many of the law enforcement officers from both immigration and from the police department doesn't know that. And even though they know that, they don't want to take long process of identifying and giving a shelter and reintegration back to the country they came from.
But the Department of Special Investigation, a branch of Thai law enforcement, insists that because the children are not their citizens, they lie outside of their jurisdiction. Hence, they claim action is needed from the Cambodian and Myanmar governments to protect their own children's futures.
เนื่องจากวันนี้มีการประชุมเนี่ยการกลุ่มต่อต้านเครือข่ายการค้ามนุษย์นะฮะเนื่องจากดีเอสไอเนี่ยเป็นหน่วยงานรัฐที่ได้ทำงานร่วมกับทาง NGO ในวันนี้ทั้งทางมูลที่กระจกเงามูลที่ LPN และมูลที่พิทักษ์สตรีแล้วก็มูลที่ผู้หญิงนะฮะเราได้มีการร่วมกันในการทำเรื่องของการปราบปรามการค้ามนุษย์หลายกรณีแล้วครับ
Regular arrests and suppression mechanisms are clearly not long-term solutions and have not prevented the continuing stream of minors that are cheap forms of labor for legal and illegal industries in Thailand. What the Thai government can do is suppress corrupt practices amongst local officials, facilitating the journey of these children from border towns to Bangkok and other larger Thai cities. After all, without their complicit cooperation, the journey would not be possible. The Universal Declaration of the Rights of the Child calls upon states to ensure to the maximum extent possible the survival and development of every child on the planet. Clearly, there's been failure on part of multiple states on multiple levels, regardless of the nationality of these children. Lasting reintegration of street children into their societies and clamping down on the slave trade and corruption amongst law enforcement agencies are the only solutions that might lead to visible progress. Preethi Nallu, Press TV, Bangkok.